The alarm screamed through the corridors of Theta 7 mining station at 0400 hours. Jake Morrison rolled out of his bunk and grabbed his boots before his mind fully processed what was happening. The alarm meant only one thing. They were here. He ran down the metal hallway toward the command center. Other miners stumbled from their quarters, faces pale with fear. Everyone knew what the Krydesh Empire did to human colonies. They had heard the stories from the 36 worlds that fell before this one. Lisa Chen stood in the command center, staring at the display screens. Her hands gripped the edge of the console hard enough that her knuckles turned white. She looked at Jake when he entered. 18 ships, she said. Her voice stayed level, but Jake heard the tremor underneath. They dropped out of jump space 5 minutes ago. They will reach us in 20 minutes. Jake moved beside her and studied the screens. The Krydesh vessels were massive, each one carrying enough firepower to crack open an asteroid. Theta 7 had 2 defense turrets and maybe 40 people who knew how to fire a weapon. Most of the station population were miners and engineers. They dug valuable minerals from the asteroid's core. They were not soldiers. Evacuate, Jake said. Get everyone to the transport ships. Lisa shook her head. We have 4 transports. They hold maybe 200 people total. We have 800 miners on this station. She pulled up another screen. The Krydesh will shoot down anything that tries to leave. They always do. They want prisoners for their labor camps. Jake felt the old training kick in. He served 6 years in the Colonial Marines before he took the mining job. He wanted a quiet life after the war with the Vorath. That war taught him that nothing in space stayed quiet for long. Then we make them pay for every corridor, he said. Lisa looked at him. Jake, we cannot win this. No, Jake agreed. But we can make them remember us. The next 15 minutes passed in a blur. Jake organized the miners who had military experience. He found 19 people who could handle weapons. He sent them to key positions throughout the station. The mining explosives went to the tunnel systems below. If the Krydesh wanted Theta 7, they would have to dig through rubble for it. The Krydesh ships surrounded the station. Their commander's voice boomed through the communication system. The translation program made his words sound mechanical and cold. Humans of Theta 7. You will surrender immediately. You will be transferred to labor facilities. Resistance will result in immediate execution. You have 5 minutes to comply. Jake keyed his radio. Everyone hold position. Make every shot count. Lisa grabbed his arm. Jake, this is suicide. He looked at her. They had worked together for 3 years. She pulled him out of a collapsed tunnel once. He helped her through the grief when she lost her brother to a transport accident. They were friends in the way people became friends, when living on a rock in deep space with limited company. Get to Transport 3, he said quietly. Take as many people as you can. When the fighting starts, they will focus on the battle. You might have a window to run. And you? I will buy you that window. The Krydesh did not wait the full 5 minutes. Their boarding craft punched through the station's docking ports. Armored soldiers poured into the corridors. They were tall, covered in dark scales, with 4 arms that held various weapons. They moved like predators who never met real resistance. The fighting started fast and brutal. Jake's people hit them from defensive positions. The Krydesh fell back, surprised. They were not used to humans who fought back hard. Most colonies surrendered after the first show of force. The stories of Krydesh cruelty usually broke human resistance before the first shot. But Jake's people held. They used the narrow corridors to their advantage. They dropped bulkheads to channel the enemy. They set traps using mining equipment. A dozen Krydesh fell in the first assault. Then the second wave came. More soldiers, better armed. They pushed through the station meter by meter. Jake's people fell back toward the mining tunnels. The evacuation transports launched during the chaos. Jake watched the scanner and saw 3 of them break through the Krydesh perimeter. 1 got destroyed. 300 people escaped. It was something. The Krydesh commander came in with the 3rd wave. Vexnar stood 2 meters tall. His scales were darker than his soldiers, marked with scars from old battles. He carried a plasma rifle in his upper arms and a blade in his lower arms. He moved through the station like he owned it already. Jake saw him coming. He fell back to the deepest mining tunnel, where he planted the last of the explosives. His remaining people fled toward emergency escape pods. He was alone when Vexnar found him. "You are the one called Morrison," Vexnar said. The translator made his voice sound like grinding metal. "You killed 23 of my soldiers. Should have been more," Jake said. He held a mining rifle, the last weapon with any charge left. Vexnar laughed. It was a harsh sound. "Your species pretends to be strong. But you break so easily. You run. You surrender. You beg." He moved closer. "You are prey animals. Playing at war." Jake triggered the explosives. The tunnel collapsed around them. Tons of rock fell from the ceiling. Jake dove behind a mining vehicle as the world came apart. Dust filled his lungs. Metal screamed. The artificial gravity failed and everything went weightless for a moment before emergency systems kicked back in. He tried to move. Pain shot through his chest. Something was broken inside. He tasted blood. Through the dust and debris, Vexnar appeared. The Krydesh commander was injured. One arm hung useless. Blood leaked from a gash across his face. But he was still standing. He raised his plasma rifle. "You are the tiger," Vexnar said. "The fighter. The one who will not surrender." He aimed the weapon. "Every species has one. The tiger who thinks courage matters more than strength." He fired 3 times. The plasma bolts burned through Jake's shoulder, chest, and abdomen. The pain was white and absolute. Jake fell backward into the collapsed section of tunnel. The ground gave way beneath him. He tumbled down through broken rock and twisted metal, down into the dark depths of the asteroid. Vexnar stepped to the edge and looked down into the darkness. He watched for several minutes. Nothing moved below. "And every tiger can be killed," Vexnar said to the darkness. He turned and walked back through the ruined station. His soldiers secured the facility. They rounded up the remaining humans, the few who survived the fighting. 37 prisoners total. Vexnar stood in the command center and opened a communication channel to his fleet commander. "Theta 7 is secure. The resistance leader Morrison is confirmed dead. The tiger is buried." He looked at the scanner showing the escaped transport ships. They were long gone now, jumped to other systems. It did not matter. The Krydesh Empire controlled 20 human worlds already. 300 refugees would not change anything. The station fell silent, except for the sound of Krydesh soldiers moving through corridors. They began the process of converting the mining facility for their own use. The human prisoners were loaded onto transport ships bound for labor camps. Deep below, in the collapsed tunnels, Jake Morrison lay in the darkness. Blood pooled around him. His breathing came shallow and weak. Above him, tons of rock sealed off any escape. The emergency beacon on his suit blinked once, twice, then died as the power failed. The darkness was complete and absolute. The sun rose over Camp 7 like it did every morning, turning the red dust into copper fire. Lisa Chen stood in the work line with 200 other prisoners. Her hands were raw from yesterday's digging. The Krydesh guards walked along the line, counting heads and checking identification tags. 6 months had passed since Theta 7 fell. 6 months of digging in the mines under the burning sky of this occupied planet. 6 months of believing Jake Morrison was dead. The guard stopped in front of her. He was young for a Krydesh, maybe equivalent to a human in their 20s. His scales still showed bright green patterns that would fade with age. He checked her tag number against his datapad. "Prisoner 2847, he said. "You work Tunnel 9 today." Lisa nodded and moved forward with her group. Tunnel 9 was deep. The temperature there could cook a human if they stayed too long. But the minerals the Krydesh wanted were there. So humans dug them out. 3 prisoners died in Tunnel 9 last week. The Krydesh brought in 3 more to replace them. Megan Torres fell in step beside Lisa as they walked toward the tunnel entrance. Megan was a doctor before the occupation. Now she was prisoner 2851. She kept the other prisoners alive when she could, using whatever medical supplies she could steal or trade for. "Did you hear?" Megan whispered. Another supply convoy hit last night. Lisa glanced at the guards. They were not paying attention. Where? Sector 15. They hit a fuel depot. Destroyed 6 months' worth of plasma reserves. Megan's voice held something Lisa had not heard in a long time. Hope. That's the 4th attack this month. Lisa had heard the rumors. Someone was fighting back. Small attacks on Kredesh supply lines. Quick raids that came from nowhere and disappeared just as fast. The Kredesh called the attackers terrorists. The human prisoners called them heroes. Probably raiders from the outer colonies, Lisa said. She did not want to hope. Hope hurt too much when it died. They worked in the tunnel for 6 hours. The heat was terrible. 2 prisoners collapsed and the guards dragged them out. Lisa did not know if they would survive. She focused on the rock in front of her. The mining laser in her hands. The next breath and the next. When the shift ended, the guards marched them back to the camp. The barracks were metal buildings that baked in the day and froze at night. Lisa collapsed on her bunk and closed her eyes. The explosion woke her 3 hours later. The sound was massive, like thunder directly overhead. Lisa rolled off her bunk as the building shook. Other prisoners shouted in confusion and fear. More explosions followed. The power went out. Emergency lights clicked on, bathing everything in red. Everyone stay down, someone yelled, but Lisa was already moving toward the door. She looked outside and saw chaos. The guard towers were burning. A Kredesh transport ship lay on its side, flames pouring from the engines. Figures in dark combat suits moved through the camp. Fighting the guards. A raid. Someone was attacking the camp. Lisa watched as the attackers moved with military precision. They knew exactly where to hit and when. The Kredesh guards fell back, trying to regroup. More prisoners emerged from the barracks, watching the battle with stunned faces. One of the attackers ran toward Lisa's building. He carried a plasma rifle and wore armor that looked cobbled together from a dozen different sources. He stopped at the barracks entrance. Anyone who wants to leave? Move now, he shouted. His voice was filtered through a helmet. We have transport ships landing in 3 minutes. After that, we are gone. The prisoners hesitated. It could be a trap. The Kredesh were cruel enough to test them like this. Lisa made the choice. She ran toward the attacker. As many as can fit, he said. He turned to the other prisoners. But you need to move right now. That broke the spell. Prisoners poured from the barracks, running toward the landing zone. The Kredesh guards tried to stop them, but the raiders provided covering fire. Lisa ran with the crowd. Megan was beside her. They reached the landing zone, where 3 small transport ships waited, engines hot. Get on board, someone shouted. Fill every seat. Lisa climbed into the first ship. She helped pull other prisoners aboard. The ship was designed for 40 people. They crammed in 70. The pilot did not complain. She just closed the hatch and fired the engines. The ship lifted off as plasma fire streaked past. Lisa was thrown against the wall as the pilot took evasive action. The ship climbed hard and fast, breaking atmosphere in seconds. Around them, the other transports did the same. Lisa found a seat and strapped in. Her hands were shaking. She looked around at the other rescued prisoners. 30 people from Theta 7. The ones who survived 6 months in the camp. Their faces showed the same disbelief she felt. The ship leveled out. The pilot's voice came over the intercom. Jump in 2 minutes. Everyone hold on. The door to the cockpit opened. A figure stepped through. He was tall, with broad shoulders and a limp in his left leg. His face was marked with scars, including a terrible burn along his jaw and neck. His left arm was wrapped in a brace, but his eyes were sharp and focused. Lisa stopped breathing. Jake? The word came out as barely a whisper. Jake Morrison looked at her. For a moment, his expression was unreadable. Then he smiled. It was tired and pained, but it was real. Hey Lisa, he said. The ship erupted in questions. Everyone wanted to know how, when, why. Jake raised his hand, and they quieted down. We do not have much time, he said. We are jumping to a safe location. When we get there, You will have choices. You can stay with us and fight. You can request passage to independent colonies beyond Krydesh space. Or you can try to reach Earth, though that is risky now. How are you alive? Lisa asked, the question everyone wanted answered. Jake's smile faded. I got lucky. And I got stubborn. I will explain later. Right now, I need to know who can fight and who needs medical attention. Megan, you still a doctor? Megan nodded, still staring at him like he was a ghost. Good. We need you. We have wounded from the raid. He looked at the others. Anyone with military training, engineering skills, or pilot experience? Come talk to me. Everyone else, rest. You are safe now. The ship jumped to hyperspace. The sensation was disorienting for those not used to it. Several prisoners got sick. Megan moved through the ship, checking everyone for injuries. Lisa waited until Jake was alone. He stood at the back of the ship, staring at nothing. She approached slowly. I saw you die, she said. I saw the scanner feed. That tunnel collapsed with you in it. Vex-Nar said you were dead. Jake looked at her. I was almost right. I should have died down there. Probably would have been easier. What happened? The collapse dumped me into an old section of the mine. Deep. Below the new tunnels. His voice was flat, like he was reporting facts instead of his own near-death. I was hurt bad. Plasma burns, broken ribs, punctured lung. I could not move for 2 days. When I finally could move, I had to dig my way out. 2 days? Jake, how did you survive 2 days? Emergency rations in my suit. Emergency medical kit sealed the worst wounds enough that I did not bleed out. He touched the scar on his jaw. Took me 3 weeks to dig through enough rock to reach an equipment shaft. Another week to climb out. By then, the Krydesh were gone. Station was empty, except for automated systems. Lisa felt sick. You dug yourself out. For 3 weeks, alone. There was not much else to do. He said it like it was nothing. Like anyone could have done it. Found out later that Vex-Nar took everyone to the camps. I spent a month recovering. Then I started tracking where they took you. And now you are raiding Krydesh camps. We are doing more than that. We have 200 fighters across 6 ships. We hit supply lines. Free prisoners. Steal weapons. And ships when we can. His eyes hardened. We make them pay for every world they took. The transport reached its destination 6 hours later. They dropped out of hyperspace near a small moon. Several ships waited there, hidden in the moon's shadow. Jake's resistance. As they docked, Lisa saw the truth. This was not just a lucky raid. Jake had built something. An organization. A real fighting force. She followed him off the ship. Other fighters greeted them, welcomed the freed prisoners. The operation ran smooth and professional. How long have you been planning this? Lisa asked. Jake looked at her. Since the moment I pulled myself out of that grave. A communication panel lit up. One of Jake's people answered it, then paled. Commander Morrison. Urgent message from our scout network. Vex-Nar knows about the raid. Jake nodded. Expected. What is his response? He is deploying hunter teams to track us, and he has issued a formal challenge. The scout looked nervous. He says he will not stop until you are dead. Really dead this time. Jake's expression did not change. Then he is going to be very busy. But Lisa saw something flicker in his eyes. Not fear. Something else. Recognition. Like he and Vex-Nar were locked in something. Neither could escape now. The war had become personal. Somewhere in Krydesh-controlled space, Vex-Nar stood in his command center and stared at the report. Morrison, alive. The scanner images from the raid were clear. The human he killed 6 months ago was leading attacks across 3 systems. Vex-Nar felt something he rarely experienced. Doubt. He saw Morrison fall. He checked to make sure. The tunnel was collapsed. No one could have survived, but Morrison did survive. And now he was free. Armed. Dangerous. Vexnar opened a channel to his fleet commander. I request permission to hunt the terrorist Morrison with full authority. This threat must be eliminated. The fleet commander's voice came back cold. Permission granted. Find him. Kill him. Make sure he stays dead this time. Vexnar closed the channel. He looked at Morrison's file on his screen. The human's face stared back at him, scarred but defiant. You should have stayed buried, Tiger, Vexnar said to the image. Now I will put you in a grave too deep to crawl from. 3 months passed. Jake's resistance grew from 200 fighters to nearly 500. They operated from hidden bases in asteroid fields and dead moons. They struck fast and disappeared before Krydesh reinforcements arrived. Amy Blackwood sat across from Jake in the planning room of their main base. She was their best pilot, pulled from a prison transport 2 months ago. Now, she was his second in command. She studied the tactical display between them. This looks like a trap, she said. Jake nodded. It is definitely a trap. And we are going anyway. Yes, Amy sighed. She was used to this by now. Jake had a talent for walking into traps and walking back out alive. But that did not mean she had to like it. The intelligence report sat on the table. A Krydesh weapons depot on the planet Tyrell. Lightly guarded. Full of plasma rifles and ammunition. The location was perfect. The timing was convenient. The whole thing screamed, trap. Vexnar thinks he knows how I think, Jake said. He zoomed in on the depot layout. He thinks I cannot resist a target like this. He is right. But he also thinks I will come in the obvious way. Which is, direct assault on the main entrance, fast and hard, grab what we can, run before reinforcements arrive. Jake smiled slightly. That is what we did at the last 3 raids. So what do we actually do? Jake pulled up a different map. This one showed the underground tunnels beneath the depot. We go in through the maintenance tunnels, hit from below. But we also send a team to the main entrance as expected. Make them think they were right. When they spring the trap, we spring ours. Amy studied the plan. It was risky. It required perfect timing. If anything went wrong, they could lose half their forces. But it might work. Who leads the surface team? She asked. Kyle will do it. He is good enough to make it look real without getting everyone killed. Kyle Washington was 19 years old. He joined the resistance after the Krydesh killed his family. He learned fast and followed orders. Jake trusted him to lead the diversion. They launched the operation 3 days later. Kyle took 20 fighters and 4 transport ships. They approached the depot exactly as Vexnar would expect. Loud, aggressive, confident. The Krydesh were waiting. As soon as Kyle's team landed, heavy weapons opened fire from hidden positions. Gunships rose from behind nearby buildings. It was a perfect ambush. Kyle did exactly what Jake told him to do. He retreated. Made it messy. Made it look like panic. His ships took damage but got away. The Krydesh pursued for exactly 10 minutes before breaking off. They thought they won. While the battle raged above, Jake led 50 fighters through the underground tunnels. They moved silent and fast. The tunnels were old maintenance passages that the Krydesh barely guarded. They thought the real attack was happening on the surface. Jake's team reached the depot basement. They planted explosives on the support columns. Not enough to destroy the building. Just enough to make it unstable. Then they moved up through the interior. The Krydesh guards never saw them coming. Jake's team hit them from inside their own base. They secured the weapons storage in 6 minutes. Started loading everything onto cargo haulers that came up through the tunnels. That was when Vexnar arrived. Jake saw him on the security monitors. The Krydesh commander came with a full company of elite soldiers. They surrounded the depot. Sealed every exit. Vexnar walked through the main entrance like he owned the place. Morrison. Vexnar's voice boomed through the depot's intercom. I know you are here. I can feel it. You took the bait again. Tiger. Jake keyed his radio. Amy, 2 you in position? Affirmative, came the reply. We have clear shot on all their transport ships. Kyle? Reformed and ready. We can be back there in 4 minutes. Jake looked at his team. They had loaded most of the weapons, enough to supply their forces for months. But now they were trapped. Exactly as Vexnar planned. All teams, execute fallback plan Delta, Jake said. He triggered the charges they planted earlier. The explosions ripped through the depot's support structure. The building did not collapse. It just groaned and tilted. Lights flickered. Alarms screamed. Dust fell from the ceiling. In the confusion, Jake's team split into 3 groups. They moved through the chaos toward different exits. The Krydesh tried to track them, but lost them in the smoke and darkness. Jake's group hit the east exit. They found it blocked by Vexnar and 20 soldiers. Jake did not hesitate. He threw a flashbang and charged. His team followed. The fight was brutal and close. No room for tactics. Just violence and will. Jake fought like something desperate. He moved through the Krydesh soldiers with a mining tool in one hand and a stolen blade in the other. 2 soldiers fell. 3. The others pressed forward. Vexnar watched him. The Krydesh commander stayed back, studying, learning. He saw how Jake moved, saw the pain in every motion. The human was still injured from their first fight. Those wounds never fully healed. You are slower, Vexnar said. Weaker. You should have stayed dead, Morrison. You keep saying that, Jake gasped. But here I am. The ceiling above them cracked. The whole building was coming down. Jake's team broke through the Krydesh line. They ran for the tunnel entrance. Behind them, Vexnar's soldiers pursued. Jake was the last one to the tunnel. He turned to seal the entrance and found Vexnar right behind him. The Krydesh commander moved faster than something that large should move. He grabbed Jake with 2 of his arms and threw him back into the depot. Jake hit the ground hard. The impact drove the air from his lungs. He rolled and came up with his weapon ready. Vexnar shot it out of his hands. Then shot again. The plasma bolt caught Jake in the shoulder. He went down. I killed you once, Vexnar said. He walked forward slowly. I watched you fall. I made sure. But you crawled back. Like an insect. Like vermin. Jake tried to reach another weapon. Vexnar stepped on his arm. Bones cracked. Jake bit back a scream. How did you survive? Vexnar demanded. Tell me before you die. Jake looked up at him. Blood ran from his mouth. I remembered every word you said. About humans being prey. About us breaking easily. He smiled through the pain. I decided to prove you wrong. You proved nothing. You are dying. Again. And this time, I will make certain. Vexnar shot Jake 3 more times. Chest. Abdomen. Leg. Then he grabbed Jake and threw him deeper into the building. The depot was burning now. Fires spread through the ammunition storage. The whole place would explode in minutes. Vexnar turned and walked away. His soldiers followed. They cleared the building just as the first major explosion hit. The depot went up in a massive fireball. The blast wave knocked down nearby structures. Fire rolled into the sky. Vexnar watched it burn. His soldiers searched the perimeter. No one came out of that fire. No one could. Confirm Morrison's death, Vexnar ordered. A soldier scanned the wreckage. Multiple human remains detected. Thermal signatures consistent with recent casualties. No life signs. Vexnar opened a channel to his fleet commander. Mission accomplished. The terrorist Morrison is dead. Confirmed this time. I watched him die. He burned. You said he was dead before, the fleet commander replied. This time I am certain. No one walks away from that fire. The fleet commander's voice was skeptical. For your sake, Commander. I hope you are right. Vexnar closed the channel. He looked at the burning depot one last time. Something in him wanted to search the wreckage. To find Morrison's body. To verify beyond all doubt. But the fire was too hot. It would burn for hours. By then, there would be nothing left but ash. The tiger is dead, Vexnar said to himself. Finally and truly dead, his soldiers loaded onto transport ships. They left the planet, left the burning depot behind, left Jake Morrison's body somewhere in that inferno. What Vexnar did not see was Amy Blackwood and Kyle Washington pulling up in a stolen Krydesh transport truck. They drove straight toward the burning building. They wore heat suits and carried emergency medical equipment. "Are you insane?" someone shouted over the radio. "That building is an inferno." "Jake's still in there," Amy said. She drove the truck through a wall that was mostly collapsed already. The heat was incredible even through the suit. "Kyle, you have 2 minutes. Find him." Kyle jumped out and ran into the flames. He followed the tracker signal from Jake's emergency beacon. It was weak, failing, but still transmitting. He found Jake in what used to be a storage room. The human was unconscious, badly burned, bleeding from multiple wounds. Kyle grabbed him and dragged him back to the truck. Amy had the medical kit ready. "Is he alive?" she asked. Kyle checked for a pulse. Found one. Weak but there. Barely. "We need to move now." They drove out of the depot as another explosion ripped through the building. The whole structure came down behind them. They made it back to their hidden ship and took off before Krydesh reinforcements arrived. In the medical bay, Megan Torres worked on Jake for 6 hours. She pulled plasma fragments from his body. She treated the burns. She stabilized the bleeding. When she finally stepped back, exhausted, Amy grabbed her arm. "Will he live?" Megan looked at Jake's battered body. "I do not know. I really do not know. He should be dead 3 times over. But somehow he keeps breathing. I have. Jake stayed unconscious for 4 days. When he finally woke, Amy was sitting beside the medical bed. She looked like she had not slept the entire time. "Hey," Jake said. His voice was rough, barely audible. Amy's eyes filled with tears. "You absolute idiot. Do you know what it took to pull you out of that fire?" "Sorry," Jake whispered. "Did we get the weapons?" Amy laughed. It was the sound of relief and exhaustion and barely controlled fear. "Yes. We got the weapons. We got out clean. Kyle saved you. Drove right into the fire to get you. Good kid. Vexnar thinks you are dead." Again, Jake closed his eyes. "Good. Let him think that. For a while, Jake, you cannot keep doing this. One day we will not get to you in time." He opened his eyes and looked at her. "Then make sure you are always close enough." He fell back asleep. Amy stayed beside him. Out in the main ship, the resistance fighters talked in whispers. Their leader was alive. Again, against all odds, against all logic, the story spread. Whispered from ship to ship, station to station. The human who refused to die. The tiger, who kept coming back. Somewhere in Krydesh space, prisoners in labor camps heard the rumors. Morrison was alive, still fighting, still making them pay. Hope began to spread. Quiet. Dangerous. Unstoppable. The Krydesh Empire declared victory 3 months after the depot fire. They broadcast messages across all occupied worlds. The terrorist Jake Morrison was dead, verified, confirmed. The resistance was broken. Any humans who continued to fight would face immediate execution. In the labor camps, guards walked with more confidence. They beat prisoners who worked too slowly. They cut rations for entire barracks. When someone whispered about rebellion, they made examples of anyone who mentioned Morrison's name. On Earth, the occupation government held celebrations. They showed images of the burned depot. They claimed Morrison died screaming. They wanted to break any hope his memory created. But the attacks did not stop. 3 days after the victory announcement, a Krydesh supply convoy vanished between jump points. All 12 ships. Gone without a trace. The Empire sent investigators. They found the ships stripped of weapons and supplies. Crews left unconscious in escape pods. No casualties. Just humiliation. A week later, someone hacked the Krydesh military communication network. They broadcast a single message to every occupied world. The tiger still hunts. Freedom comes. The Empire blamed it on automated systems, residual programs from Morrison's organization. They assured everyone the resistance was leaderless and dying. But doubt crept in. The attacks were too coordinated, too precise, too much like Morrison's previous operations. On the mining colony of Hades 4, a young Krydesh soldier named Danny Foster stood guard duty at the prison compound. He was new to occupation duty. He believed what his commanders told him. Humans were weak, defeated, broken. Then the raid happened. It came at dawn, fast, silent. Explosive charges took out the guard towers. Fighters in dark armor swarmed through the compound. Danny fired his weapon, but they were everywhere. Moving like ghosts, taking down guards with brutal efficiency, Danny found himself face to face with one of the raiders. The human was tall, scarred, moving with a limp. His left arm was in a brace. Burns marked his face and neck, but his eyes were sharp and cold. The human disarmed Danny without killing him, just took his weapon and moved on. Like Danny was not worth the ammunition. That hurt, worse than a wound. Danny watched as the raiders freed over 2,000 prisoners. They moved them to waiting transport ships with practiced coordination. The whole operation took less than 20 minutes. Then they were gone. Danny reported what he saw to his commander. He described the lead raider, the scars, the injuries, the way he moved. His commander went pale. "Morrison, you saw Jake Morrison. But Morrison is dead. We confirmed it." The commander looked at him with something like fear. "Tell no one what you saw. Understand?" No one. But the story spread anyway. Prisoners freed from Hades. 4 carried it to other colonies. They told anyone who would listen. Morrison was alive. They saw him. Touched him. He was real. Greg Palmer was human intelligence officer working with the resistance. He collected every report, every sighting, every rumor. He brought them to Amy Blackwood. "Vex Nar is hunting for Jake specifically now," Greg said. "He has deployed hunter teams to every system where we operate. He is offering rewards for information. He is threatening entire colonies if they help us." Amy studied the reports. "Jake is not going to like this. Jake needs to stay hidden. If Vex Nar catches him again." "I know." Amy cut him off. She knew exactly what would happen. Jake barely survived the last encounter. His body was held together by medical technology and willpower. Another fight with Vex's Nar might finally kill him, but Jake was not built for hiding. 2 weeks later, he led a raid on the Krydesh Command Center in occupied Detroit. The building was heavily fortified. It should have been impossible to assault. Jake's team hit it anyway. They came through the underground tunnels. The same tactics he used at the weapons depot. Fast, precise. They fought through 3 levels of security. Freed hundreds of prisoners from the detention cells. Destroyed the communication array. And dozens of Krydesh soldiers saw him. Really saw him. Fighting despite wounds that should have killed him. Moving through their defenses like he knew every trick they had. One soldier swore Morrison took 3 direct hits, and kept coming. Another claimed to see him smile while surrounded by enemies. The stories grew. The Krydesh soldiers who survived started calling him something in their language. The human translator program turned it into Death Tiger. Nicole Sanders was a Krydesh communications officer. She was different from most of her kind. She questioned the invasion. Questioned the treatment of humans. When she heard about Morrison, she started collecting information about him. Not to hunt him. To understand him. What she learned disturbed her. Morrison should have died at Theta 7. The records showed he fell into collapsed tunnels with fatal injuries. He survived. He should have died at the weapons depot. Medical scans recovered from the site showed remains consistent with his genetic profile. He survived. He should have died a dozen times between then and now. He survived every time. Nicole made a decision. She copied classified files about Krydesh military operations. She found a way to contact the resistance. She sent the files to them with a message. Your tiger frightens us more than you know. We call him the one who will not stay buried. Some of us believe he cannot die. You should use that. The files reached Amy. She brought them to Jake. He read them in silence. Then, he looked at her. They think I am immortal? Some of them do. The ones who fought you. They spread stories. Amy pulled up more reports. The prisoners we free spread different stories. They say you come back from death to save them. They call you a symbol, a legend. I am just a man who got lucky too many times. Maybe. But people do not need a man right now. They need a legend. They need hope. She leaned forward. Vex-Nar made a mistake. He should have destroyed your body, made sure everyone saw you were really dead. Instead, he let the mystery stand. And now that mystery is killing them. Jake was quiet for a long time. Then he asked, how did we survive the depot fire? Really? Amy told him. Kyle driving into the inferno, finding him by the emergency beacon, dragging him out with seconds to spare. Megan working on him for hours while his heart stopped twice. I died, Jake said quietly. On that medical table. I died. For 43 seconds. Then Megan got you back. So I really did die. And came back. The stories are not entirely wrong. Does it matter? You are here. Still fighting. Jake thought about lying in the collapsed tunnel at Theta 7. The darkness. The pain. The certainty that he would die alone in the dark. He remembered making a promise to himself. If he got out, he would make sure no one else died alone and forgotten under Kredesh boots. We use it, he said. The legend. The fear. We make them believe I cannot be killed. That is dangerous. If they finally do kill you, then someone else becomes the tiger. You, Kyle, Megan, anyone who keeps fighting. The symbol is bigger than me now. Let it be bigger. Amy nodded slowly. Vex-Nar is not going to stop hunting you. He knows the truth. That you are just a man who can be killed. Good. Let him hunt me. Every resource he uses chasing me is a resource not used crushing the rebellion. Every soldier he assigns to find me is a soldier not guarding a prison camp. Jake smiled grimly. I am the tiger in the tall grass. Let him waste his army trying to find me. The message went out. Not officially, just whispers, stories, rumors. Morrison was alive. Morrison could not be killed. Morrison was coming for anyone who hurt humans. The symbol spread faster than any military campaign. In the labor camps, prisoners worked with new energy. They sabotaged equipment. They slowed production. They whispered Morrison's name like a prayer. The guards beat them, but could not stop it. On the occupied worlds, humans began fighting back in small ways. Graffiti appeared on Kredesh buildings. The tiger hunts. Acts of sabotage increased. Nothing organized. Just individuals deciding they had enough. The Kredesh Empire tried to counter the propaganda. They claimed Morrison was dead. They produced evidence. They executed humans for spreading his name. Nothing worked. The legend grew stronger with each attempt to kill it. Vex-Nar stood in his command center and stared at the tactical display. Red marks showed resistance activity. There were hundreds of them now. Across 20 systems. It was impossible. Morrison was one human with maybe 500 fighters. He could not be everywhere. But the reports kept coming in. Morrison seen here. Morrison attacked there. Morrison freed prisoners on the other side of the galaxy. Either the human found a way to be in multiple places at once, or Vex-Nar understood. Morrison did not need to be everywhere. The idea of Morrison was everywhere. Every attack was attributed to him. Every success was his doing. The humans created a symbol more dangerous than any army. He opened a channel to the High Command. I request unlimited authority to hunt and destroy Jake Morrison. I request full access to all military resources in the occupied territories. I request permission to take any action necessary to end this threat. The High Command was silent for a moment. Then the First Admiral spoke. You have failed to kill this human twice, Vexnar. Why should we give you more resources to fail a third time? Because he is not just a human anymore, Vexnar said. He is an idea. And ideas are more dangerous than weapons. Every day we let him live, more humans believe they can fight us. We must end him completely. Publicly, brutally, make sure there is no doubt. Another pause. Then the First Admiral said, Permission granted. But Vexnar, if you fail again, you will be removed from command. Permanently. I will not fail, Vexnar said. He closed the channel and looked at Morrison's file. The human stared back at him from the photo. Scarred. Battered. But alive. Still alive. I buried you twice, Tiger, Vexnar said to the image. The third time, I will bury you so deep that not even legends can find you. The rebellion spread across 20 human worlds in 6 months. It started with sabotage. Workers in factories slowing production. Miners damaging equipment. Small acts of defiance that the Krydesh could not stop without killing everyone. Then it grew. Organized attacks on supply convoys. Raids on prison camps. Entire colonies refusing to work. The Krydesh Empire responded with force, but there were too many incidents. Too many places at once. Their occupation forces were stretched thin, and every attack, every uprising, every act of defiance was attributed to one name: Jake Morrison. The Death Tiger. The human who would not stay buried. Jake stood in the command center of Station Outreach, watching the tactical displays. The station was old, built decades ago as a trading hub before the war. Now it served as the main base for his resistance. 3,000 people called it home. Fighters. Engineers. Doctors. Families. Amy walked up beside him. She looked tired. They all looked tired. The war was taking its toll. We have a problem, she said. A big one. Jake looked at her. Vexnar, he found us. Our scouts detected a fleet of 60 ships heading this way. They will be here in 12 hours. Jake turned back to the displays. 60 ships. That was enough firepower to destroy the station 10 times over. Vexnar was not taking chances this time. Begin evacuation, Jake said. Get everyone to the transport ships. We have enough to get everyone out if we move fast. And you? I stay. Someone has to buy time for the evacuation. Amy grabbed his arm. Jake. This is suicide. Vexnar brought everything. He wants you dead. Really dead this time. I know. Jake's voice was calm. Too calm. That is why I need to be here. He will not leave until he confirms I am dead. If I run, he chases. If I stay, he focuses on me. Everyone else gets away. You cannot fight 60 ships. I do not need to fight them. I just need to slow them down. Kyle Washington entered the command center. He was 20 now. The war aged him. Commander, the evacuation is starting. We can get everyone off the station in 8 hours. Make it 6, Jake said. We might not have 8. The next hours were chaos. Transport ships loaded with people. Children crying. Families torn between running and staying to fight. Jake walked through the station, helping where he could, carrying supplies, calming frightened kids, making sure everyone knew where to go. Lisa Chen found him in the maintenance bay. She came with the last group of evacuees from the occupied worlds. I heard what you are planning. I am staying. No, Jake said. You are not. You do not get to decide that. Jake looked at her. She was his oldest friend in this war. She survived Theta 7. Survived the labor camp. Led her own resistance cell for months. She earned the right to make her own choices. If you stay, you die, he said quietly. Same as you. I am already dead, Lisa. I died in that tunnel. I died on that medical table. Everything since has been borrowed time. You still have a life to live. So do you. Jake shook his head. I made my peace with this a long time ago. When I dug myself out of that grave, I promised I would make them pay for every person they hurt, for every world they took. This is how I keep that promise." Lisa hugged him, hard. "You are an idiot, Jake Morrison. A brave, stubborn idiot." "I know." She pulled back. Tears ran down her face. "Give them hell. Always." 6 hours later, the last transport ship left Station Outreach. Jake watched them go on the scanner. 3,000 people escaping to safe systems. They would continue the fight. Build new resistance cells. Keep the rebellion alive. He was not alone. 23 fighters stayed with him. Veterans who chose to stand. Amy refused to leave. Kyle stayed. Megan stayed. People who believed some things were worth dying for. The Krydesh fleet dropped out of hyperspace right on schedule. 60 ships surrounded the station. They could have just destroyed it from a distance. Vexnar wanted to be sure. He wanted to see Jake's body. The lead ship docked. Vexnar came aboard with 200 soldiers. They moved through the empty corridors, found the command center, found Jake, waiting with his small team. "Morrison," Vexnar said. He sounded almost tired. "Finally. No more running. No more tricks." "No more tricks," Jake agreed. He held a rifle. His team was armed, but outnumbered 10-1. "Just this. One last fight. Why? You cannot win. You know this." "Why not run?" Jake smiled. It was a sad smile. "Because every time you bury me, someone else digs themselves out. Every time you kill hope, it comes back stronger. I learned that in a collapsed tunnel on Theta 7. You can kill me as many times as you want. We keep coming back. Then I will kill you so thoroughly that nothing comes back." The battle was short and brutal. Jake's team fought well. They took down soldiers. They used the station's systems against the invaders. But there were too many Krydesh. Too much firepower. One by one, Jake's people fell. Amy went down protecting an injured fighter. Kyle died buying time for others to retreat. Megan was killed trying to reach the wounded. 23 became 10. 10 became 5. 5 became just Jake. He fought to the command center. His weapon was empty. His armor was shattered. Blood ran from a dozen wounds. He could barely stand. But he was still standing. Vexnar walked into the command center alone. He left his soldiers outside. This was personal now. This needed to end between them. "You are the most stubborn thing I ever fought," Vexnar said. "Human. Krydesh. Any species. You should have died 3 times. You keep surviving. Keep fighting. Why? I'm Revio. Into live side. And he W. Why?" Jake leaned against the console. He was exhausted. Dying. But he met Vexnar's eyes. "Because you were wrong. About humans. About what we are. You called us prey. Said we break easily. You wanted to prove we were weak. You are weak. Look at you. Dying. Defeated. Am I?" Jake gestured at the empty station. "Everyone escaped. 3,000 people you will never catch. They will spread across the galaxy. Tell the story of how humans fought back, how we never surrendered. You wanted to break us. You created the opposite. You created a symbol. I created nothing. I only revealed what you already were. Foolish. Persistent. Unable to know when you are beaten. Only whether. Foolish," Jake laughed. "It hurt. Everything hurt. That is the difference between us. Vexnar, you think persistence is foolishness. We think it is strength. You bury us. We dig ourselves out. You kill us. We come back. Every time you thought you won, you just made us more determined. And now, I have you, finally. Really. No escape this time. Now you have to live with what comes next. Because I am not the only tiger. I am just the first one you noticed." Jake's smile widened. "How many more humans do you think learned from me? How many more will refuse to stay buried? Vexnar raised his weapon. No more speeches. Morrison. No more coming back. He fired. Once, twice, 3 times, 4, 5. Jake fell. Hit the floor hard. Did not move. Vexnar walked over and checked. This time he would be sure. He scanned for vital signs. Found none. Scanned again. Nothing. He took genetic samples. Confirmed the identity. Jake Morrison. Dead. The station's reactor began overloading. Jake must have triggered it before the fight. Vexnar cursed and ordered evacuation. The entire fleet pulled back as station outreach tore itself apart. The explosion was massive. Beautiful. Terrible. Vexnar stood on his command ship and watched the debris field spread. Nothing could have survived that. No one could dig themselves out of scattered atoms. He opened a channel to High Command. Jake Morrison is dead. Confirmed. Verified. Body identified. Station destroyed. The Tiger is finally buried. The First Admiral's voice came back cold. You said that before. This time I am certain. I watched him die. I verified the body. I destroyed everything. There is nothing left. A long pause. Then the First Admiral said, For your sake, Commander, I hope you are right. Again. Quote, the channel closed. Vexnar stared at the debris field. He should feel victorious. He won. Morrison was dead. The resistance would collapse without their symbol, but something felt wrong. He could not name it. Just a feeling. Like the Tiger was still out there. Still hunting. 3 months passed. The Krydesh Empire claimed total victory. Morrison was dead. The resistance was broken. Order would be restored, but the attacks did not stop. They increased. Spread to 30 systems. 40. The uprisings grew larger. More organized. More daring. Amy Blackwood led the main resistance force now. She was not Jake. She did not have his tactical genius, or his ability to survive anything. But she learned from him. She used his strategies. She became the new symbol. The raid on the Krydesh shipyard at Titan Station was her masterpiece. 50 ships attacked simultaneously. They destroyed the shipyard, freed 5,000 prisoners, stole 20 warships. The Krydesh suffered their worst defeat since the war started. Amy stood among the freed prisoners as they boarded transport ships. Medics moved through the crowd, treating injuries. Engineers repaired damaged ships. It was chaos, but organized chaos. Commander Blackwood, someone called. We found survivors in the lower cells. They were sealed off during the battle. Amy ran to the docking bay. A medical team was bringing out prisoners. They were in bad shape. Starved. Injured. Barely alive. Megan Torres, also alive and working as chief medical officer now, was already treating them. How many? Amy asked. 23, Megan said. She worked on a man with severe burns. They were kept separate from the other prisoners. Experimental subjects, maybe. Medical testing. Amy felt sick. The Krydesh did terrible things to prisoners. She moved through the survivors, offering what comfort she could. Most were unconscious. Those who were awake stared at nothing. She stopped at the last stretcher. The man there was covered in bandages. Burns covered most of his body. One arm was missing below the elbow. His face was barely recognizable under the injuries, but something about him felt familiar. Megan, Amy called. Who is this? Megan came over and checked the prisoner's identification implant. Her scanner beeped. She looked at the reading. Her face went white. That is impossible, she whispered. What? Megan showed her the scanner. The genetic profile. The identification code. All of it matched one person, Jake Morrison. Amy stopped breathing. She looked at the broken man on the stretcher. It could not be. Jake died at station outreach. Vexnar confirmed it. They all mourned him, but the scanner did not lie. And as she looked closer, she saw it. The same scars on his jaw. The same eyes. Even behind the pain. It was him. Jake's eyes opened. Just barely. He looked at Amy. His voice came out as barely a whisper. "Hey, Amy. Told you to stay close." Amy laughed. It was the sound of shock and joy and disbelief. "How? Jake, how are you alive?" "Escape pod. Launched before the reactor went. Vex-Nar missed it in the chaos. Kredesh picked me up. Thought I was just another prisoner." He coughed. Pain crossed his face. "They did not recognize me with all the burns. Put me in experimental cells." "Lucky break. Lucky break," Amy repeated. She wanted to laugh and cry at the same time. "You called getting tortured for 3 months lucky. I am alive. That is lucky." Jake's eyes closed again. "How is the rebellion?" "Growing. We just took the shipyard. 20 warships. 5,000 prisoners freed." Jake smiled. "Just barely. Good. That is good. Keep fighting. Do not stop." "We will not stop," Amy promised. "Neither will you." Apparently, Megan pushed Amy aside gently. "He needs medical treatment. Now. His injuries are severe. I do not know if he will make it," Amy said. She said it with certainty. Because Jake always made it. Against every odd. Against every logical conclusion. He survived. The transport ships jumped to hyperspace. The freed prisoners went to safe colonies. Medical teams worked around the clock. Jake stayed unconscious for 2 days. When he woke, Megan told him the prognosis. "You will live." Somehow. Again. I stopped being surprised. She looked at him seriously. "But Jake, you cannot keep doing this. Your body cannot take much more." "Next time, there will not be a next time," Jake said. Megan looked relieved. "Good. You will retire? Let others lead the fight?" Jake smiled. That same tired, determined smile. "No. I mean, next time I will be more careful. Cannot let Vex-Nar think he won. Bad for his education." Amy walked into the medical bay. She heard the last part. "You are planning to go after him again. Eventually, when I can walk without falling over." "How many lives does one tiger have?" Amy asked. It was half joke, half serious question. Jake thought about it. Thought about Theta 7. The tunnel collapse. The weapons depot fire. Station outreach. Every time he should have died. Every time he somehow survived. "One more than they think," he said finally. He looked at Amy. "Always one more than they think." Somewhere in Kredesh space, Vex-Nar received a report. An intelligence file. A rumor spreading through the occupied worlds. Morrison was alive. Again. Seen among freed prisoners from the Titan Station raid. Vex-Nar read the report twice. Then he threw his datapad across the room. It shattered against the wall. "Impossible," he said to the empty command center. "I killed him. I verified the body. I destroyed everything, but deep down, he knew. The tiger was not dead. Maybe the tiger could not be killed. Maybe every time he buried Morrison, the human would just dig himself out again, grinning through the pain, ready for another round." Vex-Nar looked at his reflection in the dark viewport. For the first time in his military career, he felt something he never expected to feel about a human. Fear. The death tiger was still hunting, and Vex-Nar was running out of graves deep enough to hold him.